Here's something I've seen a lot. Imagine this. You've got your CRM, your customer relationship management system, and it's just not working for you. You need to either switch or customize the one you have. How do you make that selection on who's going to help you implement that? You probably don't have the team in-house to do that, so you're going to need to outsource that. You're going to need to pick a vendor. How do you know who to pick? Well, I'm Matt. I'm your fractional CTO. I've been doing this for 25 years, a quarter of a century, and I am very good at managing vendors, and I have some tips for you on how to do that and how to select the right group or people or person so that you don't make costly mistakes. So what are the hidden costs of picking the wrong vendor? Well, the hidden costs become visible costs after a while. The hidden cost is, a little bit of unknown. You think this person or group is going to do a good job, and they end up not doing a good job. And let's kind of dig into that a little bit. It could be as simple as, a fixed bid project where their main goal is to get to change order land. And the change orders are where they really make the money. So the fixed bid is just like it's not really a bait and switch, because most groups that I've worked with truly believe they could do it in the amount of time that they estimated. But since technology is kind of complicated and there are a lot of unknowns, they have overly optimistic deadlines and timelines that they were going to go for. I've been guilty of that myself. I've learned a lot, and I try to avoid those types of critical mistakes. But those types of things don't end up being fatal, but they can cost extra money. And the problems that a vendor may create could ripple down to your team. So if it's taking longer to implement a certain feature or migration to a different CRM, for example, that I used previously, then that could affect your team negatively. You could be spending a lot of time as a whole company or organization working on something that doesn't provide value to the company. I'm going to teach you the CLEAR framework on how to select a vendor. It's an acronym. The first word is clarify. So we want to clarify our requirements and our priorities. Priorities are actually more important than requirements, because your priorities will dictate what your requirements are. So first, sit down and see what your priorities are. Let's take the instance of a CRM. Let's say your sales team and your marketing team do not like the same CRM. One wants to use CRM A, the other one wants to use CRM B. So how do we get that alignment? We don't want to pay for two CRMs. Then we don't have data talking across, and you have multiple systems. Did they come in through marketing? Did they come in through sales? You have a lot of complexity by using two CRMs. So the priority is to consolidate on one CRM. Then that brings you to the requirements. Well, what requirements do the sales team have? What requirements does the marketing team have? Find common ground, see what CRMs work best for the vast majority, and then take a look at the customization options. You also need to consider the integration needs and scalability and performance, service level agreements, things like that. So that's C, very basic. It's a no-brainer. A lot of times it's missed though. A lot of times people focus on requirements instead of priorities. All right, second step, list the candidates. You want to list out the candidates and then research each candidate. See if they have any customer testimonials, people you can actually call and talk to and see how their experience was using that vendor. And then you want to shortlist the vendors to 3 to 5 maximum. I would go for 3. Less is more in this case. If you really want to throw in the last 2, go for it, but that's just more time for you to have to research. You could probably narrow it down to 3 pretty easily. Now, once we have 3, the E is evaluate. You want to evaluate through structured demos, and you want to have the same type of demonstration for each software package or each vendor that you're going to be using. If this vendor is a service-based, well, you need to still have a demo. You need to have them walk through maybe some scenarios that you can walk through with them. For instance, if you're hiring a CPA or a fractional CFO, ask them things like, well, what's your work every month for us? How many touch points do we get? What should I expect? What does success look like? What does failure look like in their role? That way you can compare the different answers that you get from the different fractional CFOs. It's along the lines of when I interview technology candidates, I usually ask them the same questions, just boilerplate questions, very simple questions, and then I'll dig into each answer that they give, and then I'll go off script a little bit, but I always ask the same questions. I want to see their thought process. I want to see what they're thinking. I want to see what their response will be. How difficult are they to work with? That is a big one. If they're difficult to work with, I probably don't want to work with them. Okay, the A in clear is the total cost of ownership. It's sometimes difficult to know the total cost of ownership when you have customization in play. Let's take the CRM example. If you're migrating from one CRM to another, or if you're taking two CRMs and consolidating them into one of those or a third different CRM, you have a bit of complexity, but you can still have a pretty good idea of what the total cost of ownership is going to be if you take your time and just kind of dig into the different pieces. Vendors should be able to help you with that too. They'll know the hosting costs. If it's a SaaS company, a lot of CRMs they have a base, and they have tiered levels, and then they have the base on the tier, and then a lot of them is contacts, or you want these certain features, you can add those on. It's pretty easy for them to get you a total cost of ownership if you have your priorities and requirements in place first. And do this for 3 years of total cost of ownership, and then average along the 3 years. That will give you a good annual idea of what it's going to cost you. All right, we're almost there. R is in clear is review. So you want to review references, speak to 2 to 3 different people that have used that vendor, try to find some good questions that you can ask, and ask them about any issues they ran into, any problems, if they would work with them again. That's a very good indicator of how the process went for them. Try to find people that are in your same type of organization, whether it's size or revenue or industry, so that you can get a good apples to apples comparison. It won't be 100% equal, but do your best to try to get something that is valuable for you, and try to get a good review, a good, honest, transparent review, not a 5-star review meaning good, but a good representation of how it was to work with that vendor. And if you need help with any of this, there's a link in the description. You can book a call with me. I'd love to hop on a 15-minute call and see how I can help you out. Okay, so here are 3 red flags for you. One is pushy sales tactics. If they require you to make a decision right then and there, bust out your credit card and pay them while you're on the call, that's not a good vendor to use. Another thing is the contract. How easy is it to get out of the contract? Not necessarily early, but what's the process look like? For instance, if it's an annual contract, do I have some leeway if it renews and I didn't notice and we need to do something different? A lot of these contracts are pretty one-sided these days in favor of the SaaS company. So make sure your attorney reviews any contracts, book something on your calendar to review it, 2 months before each renewal period. That way you can see if their tool and the vendor is still working for you the way you want it to. Second one is vague answers about integration or data import. CRM especially, this should be a slam dunk for them. They should be able to work with any major CRM, and if they don't support your CRM to import from, you should be able to export your current contacts and things like that into a format where they can import it. Other things that are more complicated, yes, it's going to be more complicated, but still, they should have a way for you to import your data. They should have a way for you to migrate. Just like if you choose cell phone providers, they love to get you to migrate because that's money they're taking away. That's market share. If they don't do everything they can for you, they don't care about their customers very much. Third one, no clear SLAs. Service level agreements are very important. What do they guarantee? What do they not guarantee? What is their uptime? How often do they go down? What do their maintenance windows look like? Things of that nature. What about disaster recovery, data loss, things like that? You want to make sure that you control your data, that you always have access to your data, and in the event of something going wrong, that they have things in place so that they can recover from that. Okay. When we're managing vendors, we want to act like a strategic partner with them. I like to partner with people and organizations. I don't like to work for people. I don't like people working for me. I have like a very flat hierarchy, meaning just one layer. We're small, we're agile, we work with each other. No one works for me. I don't work for anyone else. We're collaborative. That gives you a much better approach because the vendor will feel empowered to do what's best in your interests, and you will feel empowered to make sure that you're holding them accountable. Accountability is important. Visibility is important. If anyone pushes back on visibility or accountability, something's, that's another one of those red flags. So take a step back, see if that's really where you want to go. So establish clear success metrics. Whenever I go into a new client, I identify what success looks like for them. I know what success looks like for me, but what does it look like for them? So establish that with them. What does success look like for both parties as we go into this engagement? Have points of contact on both organizations. That's very important. That makes it a communication much clearer. We don't want 3 million people contacting this one vendor. One person can contact that vendor. Part of that is, how can you contact them? For example, some clients love to text me or call me. That's fine if that's the way they work best, but I don't answer phone calls because when I'm working on something. If I have a phone call that comes in, even if it's from one of my kids, I probably won't answer. If it's my wife, I might, depending on what I'm working on, but that's it. There's a small handful of people I will stop working for because I'm focused on something right now. It's not fair to my client who I'm working for to be interrupted by something else that's going on. So establish communication lines. How do they want you to communicate with you? Is it best for you to log a ticket? Is it best to send an email? Is it best to call? Or do they have a call center or help desk that you can call, something like that? Along those lines, you want to document everything and want to maintain regular check-ins as long as the project's going on and make sure everything's going to plan. Sometimes you'll run into hiccups and they should be very transparent with you. They're like, hey, this took longer than it should and the schedule's delayed by a week and a half. Okay, next, ongoing management. You want quarterly business reviews to assess performance. Ideally, this is with the vendor themselves. Also, you should do your internal assessments as well without the vendor. Either before or after, or maybe a little bit before and a little bit after. You want to keep contracts and SLAs in a visible and actionable place. Your attorney will help you, organize that and write down any keynotes for each of those SLAs. And also build relationships aside from your sales rep. You want to build a relationship with operations team, with the support team. Make sure you have a good relationship with several groups in that company with a vendor. And roadmap changes. So if they have a technology roadmap that affects you, there's a major upgrade coming up this quarter, they should let you know about that, let you know what that means for you and how you need to change anything, if at all. Most changes should be backwards compatible, which means you won't notice any changes. This is especially important if you're using their API with a custom software or something like Zapier, so that you can make sure you don't have any breaking changes when they do their major upgrade. Okay, so that's how you pick a vendor. Hope you found it valuable. I do have a tool that you can use. It's a vendor scoring tool. I'll have a link also in the description. And drop a comment. Let me know what you thought of this video. What do you want me to cover next? If you have any questions or you want to hop on a call with me, book a call in the description. I'd love to help you out. And as always, subscribe, like the video, and share, and we'll catch you next time.